Hello, lovely people of the internet. Welcome to this episode. We're talking about FODMAPs and SIBO. So you may have stumbled across this video because you're thinking about how can you get over your SIBO symptoms, or how can you overcome eating those FODMAP restrictive foods. And of course, doing it naturally and holistically is the key. So my name's Shannon. I'm from Perth here in Australia, and I've been practicing for coming up to 15 years, and it's not new. These fads are so there's certain things through history showing changes in diet, IBS, Candida diet, and FODMAPs is another one. It helps, and it gives you information to uncover the reasons why you're feeling these digestive symptoms. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to this video so you can see future ones, and it really helps spread the message. So SIBO, what is it exactly? So small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, obviously exactly as the name says, an overgrowth of excessive bacteria in your small intestine. So you can easily Google a picture of the digestive system. We've got the small intestine and the large intestine. The large intestine can hold a lot more gas and it comes out as flatulence. But the small intestine is designed for absorption, and it's, as the name says, small. And when the gas builds up in there because of the excess bacteria, it becomes really painful, and it affects the absorption of our nutrients as well. So approximately 2/3 of patients will get abdominal pain, bloating, gas, distension, flatulence, diarrhea. But in extreme cases, it can worsen, obviously, and we can see fat in the stool, or weight loss, or nutritional deficiencies. And it's the earlier the treatment, the better. So with that malabsorption, there can also be protein and carbohydrate malabsorption, which is really essential for our growth and our repair of our body. And it starts to turn into a vicious cycle where if you're not absorbing nutrients, then you can't use those nutrients to repair, and then you start making more restrictions, and then so you eat less of the foods that you need to repair your body. Does that make sense? So it's a vicious cycle, and it's really something we want to avoid. So Sue Shepherd, a nutritionist, dietitian in Australia in the East, she invented this FODMAPs diet in 1999, actually. So it's been around for more than 20 years. But it's about restricting. So you can get an app, or you can look at those FODMAP foods which restrict. So there's less fermentation. But one little flaw, which is still, as time goes on, we're using evidence and data and knowledge to make things better. But one thing it doesn't address is removal of the bad bacteria. So those SIBO symptoms can be exacerbating chronic fatigue, or acne rosacea, or fibromyalgia, or restless leg syndrome. And then they can just be hanging in the background, but those bacteria which are causing the SIBO and the fermentation symptoms are still there, just waiting for the next hit of sugar to feed them. So just some red flags we need to look out for. So red flags, more dangerous things, obviously cancer or inflammatory bowel disease. So if there is blood in the stool, it needs to be investigated further. Identifying the signs of SIBO, you may be getting bloating, abdominal pain, constipation, diarrhea, floating stools, flatulence, and really sensitive to some foods. Like you may eat wheat, or you may eat beans, or you may eat tomatoes and notice, oh, I can't eat that, I feel terrible, I have pain in my stomach. So there's some FODMAP things. And there can be fatigue along with that, night blindness because of vitamin A deficiency, or there can be microscopic bleeding as well. so vitamin K deficiency. So the priorities of SIBO, we want to identify the underlying drivers of SIBO. So there's going to be some component of antimicrobial treatment. So we want to get rid of it for 4 to 8 weeks. We want to reduce the bacterial overgrowth. And we want to improve symptoms, so reducing the abdominal pain, the fullness, the regular bowel motions, and decrease the flatulence. We want to bring in anti-inflammatory substances like some of these probiotics or fibers, which will help the balancing of that and help reduce the inflammation. We want to promote the healing of the gut. We want to regulate the bowel movement and the secretions in there. So we want to re-establish healthy bowel function. And now let's get into the treatment. So the first thing is we need to consider the antimicrobial action. So there's some wonderful herbs about. We don't need to go into antibiotic use because dropping a bomb in there might destroy the beneficial ones too. We might want to use some of these wonderful herbs behind me and looking at regulating the secretions and bringing back balance to the organisms, and especially antimicrobials. So there's some great antimicrobial herbs about. We'll just look at a few. We can't look at them all, but some evidence showing oregano oil, extremely effective. So one study found that it broke down the biofilm, which is the barrier of the organisms. It's good at breaking down particular strains like staphylococcus. Thyme is also another one. One study shows also staphylococcus, Pseudomonas species, Klebsiella species, Salmonella species. So there's 2 effective herbs, oregano and thyme. There's also pomegranate. Pomegranate is a herb which is obviously the berry, the juice inside the seed, but there's also the rind. The rind, it has to contain a component of the rind. So one study showed it was very effective at pathogen elimination, and the way it does it is the cytoplasmic membrane of that organism, the biofilm barrier. So it was effective at inhibiting the biofilm creation for more than 90% of the organisms. And it also eliminated parasitic cyst shedding as well in another study. Another one would be nigella seed. So nigella seed, there are a lot of studies and research to show the effectiveness, but just this one I'm showing is disruption in the fungi cells. It's the mitochondria in the fungi, and that disrupts the pathogen survival. So by disrupting the replication of that fungi, it will be destroyed. Another classic is peppermint oil. So peppermint oil reduces bloating, but it also, in one study here, it was very effective at reducing candida. And in vitro study showed that peppermint inhibits the biofilm in the candida. So that binding together and protective mechanism that the organisms have, it's very effective at reducing that. So I'd like to point out this at this point about the synergistic effect. So you may hear these particular herbs, peppermint oil or nigella or pomegranate, and think, oh, I'm going to get some. But synergistically working together in a combination is far better. It compounds the effectiveness. So when you blend these herbs together, it has a far better outcome. Now, another treatment for SIBO could be a simple one like a fiber like partially hydrolyzed guar gum. Extremely effective and full evidence backing up this fiber. So it's FODMAPs friendly. Just one example, for example, 5 grams in water, stirred, taken once daily. It was shown to be more effective at eradicating bacteria with antibiotic therapy than just antibiotics alone. So when it was together with the antibiotics, 87% eradication rate. But when it was just not given and the antibiotics alone, only 62%. So there is over a 20% increase eradication. Now, I just mentioned before about the synergistic effect. Imagine if you're adding herbs, you're adding probiotics, you're adding other things as well. You're getting a magnification of the efficacy of that. Now, in 39 patients with another study for the partially hydrolyzed guar gum, 39 patients, 5 grams daily for 4 weeks, significantly improved the colon emptying and the bowel movement. Now, we can talk about probiotics. There are a lot of different probiotics, but one in particular, Lactobacillus plantarum, was very effective, around 10 billion organisms for 4 weeks, regulating bowel, reducing abdominal pain, flatulence, and diarrhea. Another study showed more closely the tight gap junctions, which is connected to the leaky gut, improvement there. Another study, planetarium with partially hydrolyzed guar gum together, improved the general symptoms, so including the bloating, reducing the bloating and the inflammation reduction in SIBO patients particularly. Now, another probiotic, but it's not a bacteria, it's a yeast probiotic. It's called Saccharomyces boulardii, SB, it's also known for. This is particularly good at disrupting the organisms and the pathogens. It doesn't kill off the organisms, but it's competitive against them. So one study together with probiotics showed a reduction in symptoms and reduced inflammation and improved general symptoms of SIBO. Now, I could keep going on with herbs, and there's so many, but that's given you some really good things to start. We haven't even touched on the nutrients as well, but I think I might make a second part for this too, and other components of the gut and the healthy microbiome as well. But thanks for listening. Remember to like and subscribe to this video, and see you on the next video. Thank you.